Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Downey Unified Esports High School Championship featuring Valorant. I'm Ashcon, joined by the wonderful Keg. Keg, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ashcon. I'm very excited for today. And we've already had a banger series begin with Downey and Warren. Downey's on a map right now. Warren is down a map. We'll have to wait and see what happens on the second one.
Yeah, we're going to be moving on to Haven, but that first map was Bind, where Downey took things 13-2 in a very convincing victory. But we saw the signs of greatness out of Warren with their ability to be aggressive, even on the defense, which is the half they started on. So when we talk about map control and whatnot, Keg, Warren does not show signs of taking this line down.
Yeah, and I think Warren going on the Haven, attacking first, is just going to take that and snowball it even further. You go from a map that has only 2 lanes that go directly to each spike site to a map that has not only 3 spike sites instead of your usual 2, but the amount of places that an attacking team can push and coordinate and really take that map control that you mentioned over multiply so much that Warren, even though they didn't win their own map pick on map 1, they go to map 2, they have a very good chance of controlling the overall pacing of at least the first half of the game.
Absolutely possible, and we did talk about how because this map is in the map pool for the longest time, it has a level of familiarity with all 10 of these players. And then you brought up a point about how Bind was familiar as well, Keg. But with Haven being attackers sided, theoretically with having extra spike sites, the statistics have gone back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, the core difference, if besides just looking at the maps between Bind and Haven, is the prowess of your in-game leader. There's always one person on your team, at least theoretically, but these two teams have one person on their squads who are calling the shots. They're like, no, this is how we need to push. This is how we need to defend. This is who needs to hold what position. This is how we will win the round. On attacking site maps that have 3 spike sites, it is so important to have that coordination down, and that will determine everything about which team can win it.
Absolutely it will. Now, a quick interjection before we move forward with discussing some of these teams and their players potentially. I did want to give a huge shout out to the Downey Unified Board of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, this competition would not be possible without some key individuals, including Dr. John Garcia, Roger Brosmer, as well as Alan Tyner. And we do want to give some shout outs as well to Chris Nezer and Ashley Catanzona. All of these people came together to help create this league and keep things funded and keep things going. And we love this opportunity for students to be able to grow in an esports environment because they take these experiences and turn them into real skills down the line. And for some of these players, even for those playing today, turning them into scholarship opportunities.
Absolutely. Look, without esports, we would not have the brain knowledge or the speaking skills that we have here. It has truly changed our lives for the better. And you know what? Esports is so new that you, the parents, the school staff, everybody are pioneers. And we will continue to grow alongside esports and all become superstars in our own way.
Absolutely will, and we thank also our sponsors for this opportunity. We do want to thank Lollipop Labs, Herf Jones, the Knowledge Society, Orange Coast College, the Contentment Foundation, as well as, of course, Steel Series, who helped us partially with our prizing package, and we can get a little sting on that. But our prizing package does look pretty crazy. We got rings for the winners, as well as some trophies. And when I talk about rings, Keg, I do want to mention that they are customized. So they look pretty nice. Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, custom rings, you know, a lot of we have custom trophies here too. Exclusive gaming accessories package from Steel Series. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to gear, it's kind of a snowball, right? The better gear you have, the better enables you are to win.
It never stops.
Exactly, and the more you win, you just start getting more free gear. I mean, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. And I mean, a lot of these players have a lot of have what they love to stick with, but it's also great to see them be able to have opportunities to try out new equipment. You know, as someone who used to play, you know, for example, something like tennis, having the opportunity to try out different rackets, for example, I guess is the best analogy. Really enabled me to try different play styles and check out maybe what I was missing. So awesome stuff, and big thanks to Steel Series for that.
I mean, another example, right? It's Christmas season right now. Ice skates are huge. You ever go to a rental and use like their basic ice? It is like using metal bars at the bottom of your feet. Speaking of which, though, we don't have any metal over in Haven. We are not showing the agent select, but I can only imagine which each team is going to bring out. If I'm Warren and I'm starting on an aggressive on the attacking side, I'm probably going to go for something really fast-paced, right? So I'm expecting maybe double duelist, singular smokes, maybe a sentinel to come through, but I really think Warren's objective here is going to be firepower with their duelist side.
I would agree with you because on Bind, when they started on defense, Warren picked a double sentinel comp, actually. They ran chamber deadlock. So it's a very, very unique composition there. And so I think they're playing for the side that they start on more than anything else, if Bind is at all an indicator. Again, sample size of 1. But if that is the read, and if we're correct on that, I'm with you 100%. Maybe something aggressive like the traditional Sova Breach Omen. Or maybe they want to go even harder in the paint with double duelist. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be different philosophies, right? And something unique to the world of esports, you don't really see this a lot in traditional sports, is something called a meta, right? And because the game updates so often and new characters are released or new characters' values are changed to make them stronger or weaker, you don't really have stronger or weakerness in football or anything, but in video games you do. And so as those kinds of changes happen, different characters become stronger and more prominent. Chamber on Bind was very strong way back about almost 3 years ago, whereas nowadays that Deadlock pick that you mentioned, Ashcon, is super relevant on Bind. Like we had seen a mishmash of different years colliding together. But as we head over into Haven, we'll be seeing exactly what the philosophies for each team is going to be.
And here we have it. Nice little flyover as we start off the game. And I'm looking at these team comps. For Downey High School, we are seeing a somewhat traditional agent composition, but instead of your usual dive duelist, we've got ISO instead.
This is really interesting. Exactly. I feel for a lot of really with the top of the food chain for strong duelists. But the thing is, he doesn't create a lot of space. And that's so good for someone like Poom's Jet, who could just fly past this ISO's position and maybe single out the Sova in the back to take that fight.
Right now, it's a slow push up the A long. We're seeing a dark cover being prepped here by GG's Only. Paranoia as well. Poom with the last bit of the tailwind does not find the timing to dash through, but still swings onto Sun over into Graffiti. Finds a second in the back of sight onto Zap. That's a Sova fallen. And all of a sudden, the A site is now in the favor of Warren.
Glumbus is such a cool name. You're a Glumbus, Ashcon.
Thank you.
But you're my favorite Glumbus, besides the player.
I feel like that's something out of the Trolls movie.
Yeah, like a Dr. Seuss kind of thing. Oh, Poot does not have a lot of options here, and Joe is separated out. He has plenty of utility, but when there's 4 players up against you, and a seemingly unstoppable Jet, I mean, there's only so many options.
Definitely an important round there for Poom, with building up towards the Blade Storm in particular. They're already halfway there, meaning that they're going to be able to crutch on their economy sooner rather than later. And that's going to be great news for the attacking side, because they're going to be approaching that bonus round extremely fast.
You're completely right. Each time you eliminate an enemy player, you do build towards your ultimate every single time. So Poom, depending on how the next few rounds goes, they could use a lot of mathematics in their mind to switch out their weapon, bring out a huge one-shot weapon for free, and just keep the overall attacking economy for their team alive. But I like this setup from Warren. They have the breach stun nearly ready for A long. No one was identified. Jazina might be in trouble though. Defenders are sneaky up for the flank.
Oh, good pick. And I love the getaway too. Jazina not trying to swing for more. Just taking their one and getting out. Once more, an open A site. Boom! Spraying down to get rid of Zap. But it is Zeshi who finds the final shot. And down goes the spike once more. Glumbus planting, building their way towards that Rolling Thunder ultimate.
Boom's in a great spot right now. These defenders that push into a small funnel have to take something called a 50-50. They have flashes available. They could disrupt the eyesight of either this Omen or Poom's Jet and take that fight.
Cover going out.
I love the pullback to get GG's Only dark cover out. They're smoking the heaven side of A site. Spray through. They don't even wait for that second peek. They just go for it after finding the first elimination. This leaves Poot all alone, and ooh, they do find one with a clean couple shots. But with 3 more around the corner, well, that's just a tall order.
Yeah, and speaking of a tall order, all eyes need to be on Poot into this next round. He has the utility to stop all this distance being made by Poom on A site. He's got these tripwires that should theoretically, again, stop this whole team in their tracks. But we haven't seen those changes just yet. Maybe now with full rifles in the hands of Downey, they could push up and take a fight aggressively. But look at Warren's position. They're not pushing A site this round. They've recognized that they've gotten so much value out of A that they have to go somewhere different on a round where they can keep their money alive and not overinvest into new weaponry.
Oh, huge early pick from Core there. Get a 1 and get out.
Cover going out.
Patience now, just trying to bleed out the time. Time is always in the favor of the defenders until that spike is planted.
What does Zojeshi do here? In a really good spot now. That Prowler will identify Poot from the back. His tools are down, but that tripwire that was meant to stop the jet gets destroyed.
Just ran through that dark cover. They know someone's in the back of this site. Poot's just waiting in the back corner of the platform. Cage is going up, lines of sight blocked, and there it is. Finally found his Poot. They fall to the hands of Poom, and back and forth. It's a 3v2. GG's only hiding in this dark cover, waiting for a contact. He's able to punish Joe for going in dry, and a second one to boot. It's a 1 versus 1 against the Omens.
That's right. None of which have a lot of offensive utility. Teleport potential out. A big fight early on, though. Good teleport from GG's only. That blue Omen's not going to know exactly where GG's only teleported to. 23 seconds left on the clock and plenty of time to get that spike into the ground. Those shots ring out, though. And now Downey's aware about his position.
Oh, this is so intense. Has that dark cover refreshed. Opts for the safe plant. Needs to immediately pull off. And there it is. Nice little lineup of the crosshair. That's 3 rounds strung up in a row, Keg. That's not necessarily a standard start to the half.
No, by no means. Normally, Downey's supposed to be in the position to win that last round. They had the better equipment to beat out Warren, and yet, even with, sub-level weaponry, Warren was still able to clutch it out by taking so much distance, and frankly, they're playing much more together as a team, taking a lot of fights with bigger number advantages.
And I suppose that is a natural result of the vastness of the map, too. We talked about how big Haven can be and how many avenues the attackers have. And because of that, it also means the defenders have so many more lines of sight to cover.
This is a good setup from Downey, though. The early breach stun from behind that wall does allow the ISO from inside that sewer's angle to push up. And so that stun did come through, but the swing did not. Immediately Warren say, you know what, we're not going to go A site, we're going to go straight to C. We got through it last time. And now, there was no defender presence at all on the site. What Downey are doing is that they're going to wait, if they can, for that spike to go down and push as a team to retake it.
That is a difficult spot to be in. GG's only with a shrouded step onto the top of the site and then pushes deeper, but their smoke wasn't quite properly aligned. That enables Downey to get a pick for this retake, but Glumbus and Zozeshi, they're fighting back, but the flood still coming through regardless. It's a 1 versus 2, the fault line trying to space off Poom, and it works enough for Poot to get the wider angle. Is good for 4 in this round and clutches things up. Another unexpected reversal.
Such a good retake from Downey, and look how Poot is glowing. That is going to be the Neural Theft setup and ready. And what's strong about this ult is that it's one of the fastest ones you can gain in the game. And if we see a member of Warren get KO'd for the round, you can go for that Neural Theft, which is Poot's ultimate, and find the location of any attacker on the map. That's going to be so strong for Downey if they choose to keep giving up each spike site and playing as a team for the retake.
100%. Haven is kind of that map where the attackers can lurk around, as we say, taking a lot of time before committing to a point of attack. So having extra information in the mid-round is key for securing everything in the first half.
That's right, and look how slow Warren are playing this round. They've been pushing in so fast every single time, and up until this last round, it hasn't worked. Or it has worked, excuse me. But look at this angle being held by the Sova and the ISO. Zap and Sun are hidden away. Zap is being a distraction factor. And in theory, Warren don't know about Sun's position. And he could be good for 1, and then could run away.
Poom walking up through short, has the tailwind still prepped. Oh, gets spotted though. Immediately smoked off, and all of a sudden this is a lot harder of a site to hit. They make it out wide though. Forces the recon bolt out, pulls that utility, fights Brick out regardless. Zozeshi getting away with only 30 HP. And it's a nice little fight through mid that opens up the B site. GG's only, and Glumbus with the spike down, force the post plant scenario.
Information found on the right side near Zozeshi. The Prowler spots at least one. That would assume that the other 2 should be on the opposite end, and Glumbus would be right. He has an ultimate available. Not going to use it. Neural Theft is out, though. The information on the last 2 attackers is seen.
Oh, this is such a difficult situation right now for Warren. But most of Downey is low. One caught with a spray. Can they find another? Oh, swinging through. Zozeshi is going to be punished immediately. In a 1 versus 1, it's Poom who has less HP. But doesn't have the footwork.
At it again. Really nice round. Great game plan from Warren's side. They use Poom and Zozeshi as a distraction factor outside of A. They're the ones that try to keep every defender on A site in their spots and take that early fight. All the while, the rest of Warren, they were pushing up B for the plan to be a rotate later with less bodies on Downey alive for the round for them to deal with. And it just barely worked in a 1v1.
Yeah, things got so intense once Columbus put down the spike. I was fully expecting them to throw out that breach ultimate. It didn't come. Luckily, the round went in their favor, and they get to carry it into this one.
Let's see what happens here, though. A very fast push from Poom. That Blade Storm we talked about round 1 now available. That means extra money in the pockets for the rest of these attackers, and Poom is already in the backside of A.
Ooh. Isolate that fight onto one of the attackers. Downey trying to give themselves the numbers up, and Sun succeeds. That's GG's only down. That means the smokes will not be able to cover heaven any longer.
Oh, but what's going to happen here? Poot was blinded out and couldn't find any sort of angling, but Zap, could they do the same?
Out goes the recon bolt. Scans and gets a little information. Nice shot out of Joe, and they have the information on this jet in graffiti. Zap and Sun now just popping off to secure this round. 2-4 in favor of Downey. And I think it's really interesting, Keg, that both of these rounds won were basically thrifties for the side of Downey.
Yeah, Downey does not need the best weaponry in the world to take this back. They have the coordination that we saw back on Bind come to fruition here. Zap brought out something called a recon bolt, and you mentioned it a few rounds ago too, Hashcon. The recon bolt has this big radius that will spot any attacker if they're in that zone. And so, with that information gained, Sun was there on the flank to hide behind all the attackers and slowly push up, using the information gained by the recon bolt to strike and crunch down on A site. Warren are playing together again though. They are also in the same spot with a thrifty. That means they don't have full best utilities going into this round. They have to play up close.
Oh, that Prowler does not spot Sun in the corner, but only good for one. That's going to be a Vandal now, potentially in the hands of Warren. That's a free upgrade in a sense.
Yeah, huge upgrade there. Joe, though, finding Poom means it's going to be much harder now for Warren to get onto a site. They're stuck inside garage.
Ooh, I do like that paranoia. And Core follows up on it boldly and getting rewarded with 3 eliminations.
Huge round from Core. And that paranoia that we talked about was this beam of light that can go through walls. And what it does is that it's not quite a flash, but you still can't see anything if you're an attacker who gets hit by that ray, right? So for that moment, we saw Core take a very dangerous swing that would normally not go well for him. But instead, Columbus and I believe it was GG's only couldn't react because they couldn't see. And so that's such great game sense from Core to utilize their utility like that.
Yeah, I mean, that hitbox of the paranoia is just so wide that it really hits almost the entirety of the garage. Great placement of the utility. Now walking up to A, the tailwind comes through. Sun finds an early pick with an operator. So it looks like despite the fact that they're not on chamber or jet, they're not going to shy away from the big stick. And definitely a great choice for this round.
Look at the position from this breach though on the defense. He has something called a rolling thunder now. That's his ultimate. It's a gigantic wave that will stop all of Warren in their tracks. And Warren are aware of that too. They've lost their cipher for the round. And now the utility that they would normally have to protect them from flanks that Sun normally goes for is not available. And they want to go up close and personal. B looks like it could be an appetizing option, but there's less than a minute left on the clock. C has been a safety site for Downey. They've lost once, I believe, on every site except for B. They might try to go for it, but B site is so small that rolling thunder can easily take apart the entire site. But they're still going to take the risk.
Oh, the trap wire is found. It is broken, and it's a swing into a link. Poom is going to get rid of Joe from Downey High School. Out around the corner in the smoke are 3 members of Downey stacked up on the waiting for their turn to walk in.
And now, it's actually Warren who have the Rolling Thunder available themselves. All they need is 1 ounce of information, a threat credible enough for them to use it. 2 left on C-Link. That's going to be Core and Sun to take it back. And the only one left is going to be the one Columbus. Neither Rolling Thunder was used.
There it is. I mean, amazing retakes back and forth from Downey High School. The patience is incredible. The discipline is great. A lot of the time, Keg, we see 1 or 2 members of these teams try to anchor down on the site or swing a bit too early. But it feels as if everyone is on the same page here. And because of that, the utility syncs up as well as the fights.
That's right. I mean, the coordination is everything on such a large map like Haven. And both teams are playing it to a T. They have warmed up and prepped for this map so well. And like we mentioned before, this map has been around since this game was released. And so this is familiar and comfortable territory for everybody.
Nice, quiet approach to the A side now. We have that haunt to get a little bit of information. Looks like they're going to try to line things up. Meanwhile, Sun holding down the line over in Garage. A lot of resources by Downey leaning towards the C side, meaning the A side is a tad bit more vulnerable. They do have that Cypher set up. But that's not going to be a problem anymore as Poom finds that elimination onto Poot specifically. So they get to just walk in, not having to worry about the trap wires any longer. And now an updraft into Heaven as well to pick up this Vandal.
And it looks like nobody heard that Poom had gone up there either. Zap gets taken down by surprise, and Poom, gonna play it safe, does not want to overheat. Of course, then they swing and overheat. Rolling Thunder that we mentioned is finally out. That's going to stifle everybody on the defense. Jesus in the back, though. An operator picked up. No one was aware. He snuck all the way around the map to do it. He had a one-shot rifle. That means he could take anybody down with 1 click. But even then, the small revolver wasn't enough. It's Joe to take down everybody and win back the site.
What a close round. Joe coming up big. And I mean, really unfortunate there for Jazina to not be able to find more than 1 huge save by Core to trade that out immediately. Because if that didn't happen, Keg, I think the round would have gone completely different.
Absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree. I do like what Jazina had done there. They snuck around the entire map as a Cypher. And that they were able to get this surprise hit from the back. If they had something that wasn't just a long reload weapon between shots, I think that would have gone a lot better for the Cypher. But unfortunately, it wasn't. That being said,
absolutely.
Though, oh, what's up?
Oh, no, sorry, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, yes. But something we can agree on here, too, is that Warren need to make changes. This is their timeout where they get to talk to their coach and figure out, okay, what is our game plan going into these next few rounds? Because the beginning worked really well for Warren. They would play super fast. We in the industry call it punchy. And they would just be on A side as soon as the round had started. But Downey now are becoming much more aware of how Warren want to play this early game. It's up to them now to change the pacing.
Yeah, it feels like Warren could do with a little bit more time spent in the early states of the round, maybe to pull out some initial utility. Like if they can get rid of some of Joe's breach flashes or shock out some of Poot's trap wires, they would be so much more effective in the post-plant scenario. Because I want to say it's Joe who's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here on those retakes.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, though, this is a new change of pace for Warren. They attempt to go faster, but that utility is brought out. That's an aftershock that will condense any small areas like that cubby to make sure you can't push into it. Poom is out, though, off the hands of Fate's ultimate. They find so much information, but Zap through the blinds of the chaos of everything. It's Joe and Zap collapsing upon Warren. They've read into this push perfectly, knowing full well after the timeout, Warren would try to go somewhere different, and it certainly wouldn't be A. And now Poom's the only one left, Ashcon. He's going to tuck tail and try to run across the map to A site.
I love the rotation. They do still have the spike, which is a perfect scenario for them. But waiting at the A site is Sun with an operator. So Poom here doubles back. But unfortunately for them, this trapwire is still up. So they're still going to have to provide information one way or another. And because Sun had rotated so early to the A side, this is a potential pinch. Poom has to make a decision, and they do, but unfortunately, it's the wrong one. Right into the scope of the operator and down onto the floor.
Now, of course, we're watching with this omniscient, all-seeing eye, right? Poom had no idea that there was Cypher utility on A site, or that Sun was even at A ever to begin with. Let alone having the operator that at that close range will absolutely take down anybody. So Poom had very little options left when they were the only one left for the round.
Absolutely they do. And that's another point as to why maybe Warren will want to slow things down. We talk about that Nightfall, that orb that Fade has been throwing, which reveals agents similar to the Sova Recon Bolt. And that could provide a lot of useful information on where to actually proceed earlier in the round.
Oh,
you don't necessarily need to use it for a hit.
Oh, this is what we call a default. It's not where you're not pushing one single lane at once. Instead, everyone on Warren are pushing individual lanes themselves to see what info they can gain. Core gets taken down early. That's a huge opening pick for Warren.
Here.
30 HP left on Poom, so they're going to work on making maybe a little bit more space. Poom forced to give their position away by shooting out the Nightfall. Or excuse me, the Haunt. Over in the back of Gone is GG's only. And I love that cage to cut off line of sight to be able to work their way in. Downey extremely smart on this retake. Even so, GG's only will be able to find one.
Oh man, look at Sun absolutely popping off. So good to see a 3K for the round. He just keeps it going. Sun has a shield too, so it takes more hits to take him down, but Columbus does not care. A huge comeback for Warren.
Last round before the switch.
Bringing it closer. Could be a 6-6 half, but when you look at the economy, right now, Downey is slightly better, and they do have 3 very strong ultimates, particularly the Hunter's Fury on Sova and ISO's ultimate for the kill contract. Both of those ultimates, I think, are great on retakes, which is what Downey has already been succeeding on.
Yeah, that's right. Sun's ultimate can just isolate one of these attackers and completely remove them from the round to take a 1v1 fight. That gigantic Hunter's Fury that you mentioned is a ray of electricity that can find information, but also force all of Warren to move in the post plant. But it looks like Poom may have identified Sun, and that's going to make this ultimate very difficult.
It's a bit of a game of cat and mouse, and it looks like before even that Jet can catch up, Sun is already taken out of the fight.
I know exactly.
Ooh. Getting that neural theft up against them now. Very much discovered more than before. All of these defenders now, their locations found. It's the last round of the half and you do not keep your ultimate, so Zap needs to use it here.
Oh, Columbus trying to buy time. And it's going to be huge, stunning not just 1, but 2, earning them their 4th elimination of the round. And I mean, when we talk about MVPs, it's not just Joe, Columbus as well. Both of these Breach players really finding the perfect times for their stuns.
And you and I both know that we play high-level Valorant. Breach is the hardest character in the game to use because he's an initiator role similar to Zap, where you can find a lot of this, where they can find a lot of information off of the recon bolts. He gets a little drone that can spot information for himself through walls. Joe and Columbus don't get that. Their entire role is to go for these flashes through walls, these stuns through walls. That requires a lot of knowledge of the game to make sure he doesn't hit their own teammates, but to also make sure they're good enough to allow these attackers to utilize those flashes to their best value.
Yeah, oftentimes Breach is very much described as a clunky agent, so kudos to both of those players for piloting them. Sun making their way up so deep into the C site. The fact that they even made it into the dark cover is amazing. But they're playing it safe. They're not swinging out just yet, and this Owl Drone provides a decent amount of information as to the risk posed with pushing. So Sun accepts that risk and chooses to back away. Out comes the Paranoia into a swing by Jazina. Zozeshi and Glumbus also wreaking havoc. And now Warren, who are on the defense, have their first successful retake, first successful round of the second half.
Great retake from Warren. Absolutely what we were looking for. It's something that Downey was doing in the later parts of their own defense, but it took them a little while to get to that point. Warren, already starting off their first round, immediately making that decision is such good footing for the team. And honestly, Ashcon, if they can keep it up, we could be looking at map 3.
Absolutely, yeah. And just for a little glimpse of those who are familiar, map number 3 is already set for Ascent. So if we get to that point, those of you who are familiar with the competitive Valorant scene, you'll know what's to come.
Yes, it is another map that's been around since the dawn of Valorant time. Everyone knows how to play it. Columbus again, the breach stun setup. This time though, opening contact made by the Jet. Sun is forced to run away. He's trying to guide these defenders over to A site so B's easier to hit. But Warren don't fall for it.
Revealing area.
Both dark covers already sent out, blocking off the lines of sight towards C, but there still needs to be a fight over at A. Zozeshi is not going to give that opportunity up, though. It is the judge through the dark cover, through the smoke, to find 3, and then a ghost for a 4th.
Zozeshi's looking fantastic. Plenty of info gained out from the Fade, who serves a very similar role to Zap Sova. Both of which can find info through walls and track down different people of the enemy team. But now Downey, they're in that spot again where they have the better equipment than Warren. And Warren was able to win this kind of round back when they were on the attack. They could go 3-0 yet again and put themselves extremely close to winning this map.
3.5 and 5 rounds in a row total. Right now they have a 4-round streak. The momentum is definitely in their favor. Right now, a lot of utility being dumped, but this is a Cypher site. The trap wires have to be accounted for, and it doesn't seem like Sun is showing any reservation. Regardless, still able to find one, but there's no follow-up from the rest of the squad.
Oh my, destruction everywhere you look. Zap is 1 of 2 left alive, but he gets 2 despite being stunned. He will have perfect accuracy and still makes it work. And suddenly, Warren, they had a huge advantage. They only have 1 left for the round. But Zap and Core have very little HP left. A single tap of the mouse could take down both of them.
This is such a tough position for GG's only. They're only armed with the sidearm, the ghost, and Zap shocks them. That's it. 7-8 breaks that 4-round streak. And this is a bit more of that standard start of the half.
Absolutely. This is what we normally see at top tier level play. The team that wins that first round, they usually win the second because that losing team goes for a full eco. They don't buy anything just so they can have a ton of money into that 3rd and 4th round. And Downey, they're going to keep the streak going. They don't have the best shields at their disposal, but at least they have some money to work with. That being said, though, they have to be careful. They're still down 1 point and they want to tie it up. Oh boy, that's not good. GG's only has a judge. It's a cheaper weapon, but up close and personal, it is the most destructive weapon in the game.
A lot of manpower sent towards the C side and all but stopped with just a simple dark cover. Really difficult to step out onto C. But I love that awareness out of Poot. Knows that Poom could potentially have come up the flank. Eyeballs it, and all they need to do is reset. They know they're one off the neural theft, so they go for the orb on top of it. Now they can get information all across the map for their squad.
Just a matter now of Downey resetting themselves to figure out where they can push into next. They don't have that entry-ability that we talked about. Boom on Jet could dash into a site, but the ISO can't do that from Sun. But Sun's already gone for the round, and it's a 4v4.
Ooh, this is gonna be a tough entry because the neural theft reveals agents, but it doesn't reveal utility, so they don't know that they could potentially be walking into trips. One is broken, but it's caused enough delay. Poot around the corner, not caught in the aftershock, and still swings wide. Completely unexpected by Glumbus.
And what do you do from here if you're Warren? 2 left for the round. And yet even then, these pushes have been a little shaky.
Out into the site. They do have a smoke for either long or short. GG's only can throw a dark cover. And there it is for long. Jazina taps the plant, but they make footsteps. So Downey High School know that they're safe for the time being. But even though they should be patient, swinging through, but not finding their targets, Warren succeeding in the retake.
Very, very good to see from Warren. I was a little nervous at first just because A site is generally considered the hardest site in the game to retake. It is closed, it is condensed, every little lane you push is a lot of geometric angles that benefit the attackers. Warren was able to bring it back with ease.
Absolutely. I mean, they are definitely working hard and working overtime to move us into map number 3. Like I said earlier, Keg, they're not ready to take this lying down. We saw the potential for greatness on Bind, and now it is manifesting fully here on Haven.
Well, we get to see if Warren can continue the streak. Downey, a little bit slower to the draw. They only have sheriffs to work with. They can be dangerous up close, but they require extreme precision. And Warren are playing in a spot now where they expect Downey to push into this A site hold. The Cypher utility that stops people in their tracks are everywhere.
Core being extremely patient with the possibility of someone being in A short. But what they don't know is that the Cypher is still set up there. Information still being gathered all around the map. A lot of this patience by Downey is to just find a pick. That's all they want, is to gather numbers, get a count, and if they're lucky, an elimination.
Oh, look at that. The Prowler and the Smokes have already gone down on the C. That's a lot of utility that Warren have just used. And yet, nobody has rotated to C site. Everyone's still waiting on A, and Joe takes that fight. Boom goes down. That leaves only one left on A.
Ooh, finds the camera as well, has the fault line, ready to prep it. Joe does have a couple of allies here to go and take A, but the rotations are so swift out of Warren.
Oh, the Omen ultimate. It's a teleport across the whole map, and that's where the spike will go down. This was the plan all along. And with 2 left now on Warren, again, a round where you had nothing but sheriffs, these teeny tiny little weapons. It's looking incredibly winnable for Downey.
A huge bait and switch play, and it's only backed by the extreme firepower of Downey High School. Doing an amazing job winning these aim duels. Core now throwing out the paranoia, and they're just trying to buy time. Joe coming around from the back, and that is their 3rd elimination of the round. And a convincing push towards the A side just to pull the rug out from under Warren with Omens from the Shadows ultimate.
And we just talked about how last round, Downey, they didn't have a lot to work with going into it. It's going to be Warren this time, who are in the same exact spot. Jazina's taking a very big risk, bringing a Vandal out. Zoazeshi debating about bringing in the Stinger. Poom with a Marshal maybe? No. Playing for safety with only Sheriffs. I don't necessarily agree with Jazina's move here to bring the Vandal out, but it could be the round-saving maneuver. And I see the plan. Push up sewers. Take as much contact as possible. And getting it 2 picks early on is gigantic. Take that 3. Jazina may have just saved the round.
Sun, though, really wanting to secure this, pops the ultimate to create a 1v2, forces it, and GG's only is taken down along with the rest of Warren. That was insanely close, Keg. I mean, we talk about buying with your teammates and keeping the economy in check, but sometimes if you're just feeling your own tempo, you can create those miracle situations. For Jazina, unfortunately, it doesn't go all the way, but we saw the glory just for a brief moment.
Absolutely. Jazina made this round a lot closer than it should have been for Downey. That means the economy for Downey, even though they won the round, was hurt. They had to reinvest the Vandals and Phantoms a lot more than normal. And that also gave Warren a little bit more money in their pockets to work with into this round. Jazina's all by themselves on A. They've earned being able to play alone. Columbus falls immediately. And now Zoe Zeshi has to be so careful.
Oh, wow. Walking through the smoke despite being hit by the paranoia. Sun is extremely confident, but unfortunately doesn't translate to the aim. Zozeshi trades out the frag. It's going to be 4-4. And as we say, an even trade is always in favor of the attackers.
Oh, Boom is playing very carefully. None of Downey know that the jet is available. And look at the tripwire set up by Downey too. It doesn't account for Boom's position.
Now that's the opportunity for 2 on the flank. But GG's only not waiting for the rest of the squad. Warren now down another agent. 3 versus 4 in this 9-9 round. Zap taking another pick. 4 versus 2. And it's a Herculean task now for Zozeshi and their Cypher to make their way into the site.
It's going to be so tough. Jazina has gone in unspotted, it looks like. Good trade, getting one down for the other. Neural Theft available. All 3 left. Rolling Thunder is set up and ready to proc outside of Jazina, tapping the spike.
Oh no, not the paranoia.
That's a safer option.
At this point, you just take a weapon, save it, and move on to the next round.
I'm really happy we didn't see the Rolling Thunder bought out, even though that was the viable option just in case. Paranoia blinds out Jazina, scares them away from the spike, and they don't want to be taken down and lose their Vandal in the process. So, unfortunately there, not able to win the round for Warren. And Downey's back into the winning seat.
They made their way up, and they forced the second timeout out of Warren. That's going to be their last timeout for regular play, and they won't have another one until a potential overtime.
That's right. Warren had to figure out what they want to do here. Off of their timeout on the attack, they weren't able to succeed immediately, but they did get their footing after and made things very close at the end of the first half. But Downey have so many ultimates available, and this is a map that is generally considered to be attacking sided. You can control the pacing a lot, and depending on when Downey want to use these ultimates, they could save it for getting onto the site, in the post plant, any of which could vastly affect Warren's success.
Yeah, big add-on to that point of the ultimates is that both of these orbs are pretty attacker-sided. There was once upon a time where the available utility was different, that we could say the A orb was more available to the defenders, but nowadays it's super easy to send a Sova Dart over to the top of A long and just clear out any potential off-angle holds.
What do you do here now if you're Downey?
Here.
What is the game plan knowing that your team just had a timeout? Your enemy team had a timeout. Already Warren are playing a little bit more aggressive than normal. Setting up outside A on both different directions. The Rolling Thunder available from Downey's side, from Columbus. That's what I'm watching the most. This could be huge. The tripwire setup outside of Garage does make things more difficult for Downey to push into C site. The paranoia is available right after from GG's only should stifle things more.
Huge owl drone to disarm the trip. But they're not going to be able to follow up on this Omen TP. Sun tries to take out the shorty. A huge sidearm to have in close quarters, but it's not going to find a target this time around. And they're once again trying to approach up high. A lot of damage has been done to that Cypher on the side of Warren. But it's actually GG's only who falls first.
And now you don't have smokes for the post plant. That's going to make things so much more difficult for Warren, but it's trade after trades. Boom, falls immediately. Hunter's Fury, Rolling Thunder available. Everyone on Downey are going to hide down that long hallway of C-Long. Oh, except for 2. They stay on site, they take the fights, and Boot's good for 3. Make that a 4th now for Joe. 11-9, 2 rounds away from converting the series.
Yeah, Downey just really inching their way forward towards the finish line. Earlier on, I was talking about Warren's 4-round streak, and Downey has now achieved the same. In addition to that, again, the Rolling Thunder up for both teams, and I'm looking at the Hunter's Fury. We talk about post plant a lot in a game like this with a spike plant mode. And Sova's ultimate is one of the more effective ultimates for post-plant. However, with some recent changes, it's actually a lot harder to aim that ultimate across the map.
That's right, and hopefully these players know about those changes too, but GG's only runs out of garage with no help at all. And boom, gets one wild shot and is able to get rid of at least the flashing player. And now your eyes, the corneas, can stay intact for a few more minutes.
Who inching their way up A long, while A short is being pressured. The trapwire is spotted. Sun goes through. Their shield is available. So one instance of damage is tanked for free. And they're just walking their way into CT. Maybe not the wisest option, but when you're just that confident, hey, you're just going to take every victory you feel like you can have.
And all it takes now is one more round for Downey.
Match
And then
point.
they win the series 2-0. They won Warren's map pick back on Bind. And now for their own map pick, it was shaky in the first half, but their attacking side has looked wonderful.
This is where the mental aspect comes into play for competition. It doesn't matter whether it's sports, esports, or any type of hobby competition. It is your mental that will carry you through these clutch scenarios. This is also a very unique type of series where this map 2 is played a little bit later. So it is entirely possible, you know, with Warren being well rested, that they're more than capable of fighting back and turning this into an OT.
Oh, we see Warren looking to have that change of pace again. Zoe's Zeshi falls, so does Poom. GG's only didn't push out aggressively this time, but they're left all alone.
A huge sweep right now by Downey High School. Glumbus turning this into a much more doable round, but unfortunately GG's only falls before any more follow-up can be had. And Core is the one who closes out this game, this map, and this series. Ladies and gentlemen, you have your winning team. Congratulations to Downey High School.
I really enjoyed how both of these teams played, and again, with a 3-spike site map like Haven, you have a lot of different schools of thought of how to approach and really study up on this map. Downey overall, they had a lot of consistency as playing with a team. Starting off with them on the defense, playing for retakes, giving Warren a lot of space, and then playing to their own advantages once the spike was down was huge. But when they swapped to the attack, they looked fantastic.
I mean, but they really set up the tempo. They had an amazing job on the retake. But yes, I completely agree. They took full control of that attacking half. And it totally makes sense. We did talk about the map pick order and how this was the comfort pick for Downey. It was their selection. So they were more than comfortable on each side. I did love all of the adjustments that Warren made, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And Warren made a wealth of adjustments, like you were mentioning, right? I think the fact that we started seeing more ultimate usage work well in Warren's favor helped even the odds a lot. But unfortunately, it just fell a little short on that defensive side.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, I guess, Keg, that would be it for me and you. You guys can find us below. You can saw our tags over there. But I do want to give some final shout-outs, Keg, because, again, this wouldn't have been possible without some amazing people and without some amazing entities. Primarily Dr. John Garcia, Superintendent Roger Brosmer, as well as Alan Tyner, and, of course, our wonderful sponsors and organizers that also made possible the prizing. So one more time, it'll be Lollipop Labs, Herf Jones, the Knowledge Society, Orange Coast College, the Contentment Foundation, and of course, Steel Series. They'll be providing rings, peripheral sets, and some awesome trophies that will have the schools engraved onto them.
I'm so jealous. I think all of these amazing people have helped make this a reality, and of course, it's been amazing working with you, Ashcon, and the students too, who are putting the time and effort to become studious through the lens of Valorant and other esports matches is simply unmatched.
Absolutely. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege. And we hope you folks at home had a great time enjoying some Valorant. Make sure to follow the channel. Stay tuned because we know there's going to be more esports action coming to you soon. Cheers.